You are told that you don't matter. Take it from me and you can take it to the bank. You are not alone. We are many and we are stronger together.
Tommy Robinson reacts to Katie Hopkins' comments about Keir Starmer, sparks political debate online. You're not going to believe what just happened online. Tommy Robinson, one of Britain's most talked about voices, has just stepped in to publicly react to something Katie Hopkins said about Prime Minister Keir Starmer. And the internet, it's already on fire. This wasn't just a passing comment. It was one of those rare moments where two controversial figures, both known for saying what others won't, suddenly find themselves in the same political storm. And it all started with a single clip. Katie Hopkins had been on one of her regular YouTube live streams. You know how she does it. Raw, unfiltered, not holding back when she began speaking about what she calls the crisis of leadership in Britain under Keir Starmer. Her tone, frustrated, passionate, at times, emotional. She talked about the growing disconnect between the political class and everyday citizens, about rising costs, insecurity, and what she described as the government's failure to put Britain first. Hopkins said, "People are losing faith not because they don't care about their country, but because their leaders don't seem to care about them." That clip spread fast. Within hours, Tommy Robinson saw it and jumped in with his own reaction video. He didn't mince words. In a short post on X, formerly Twitter, Robinson wrote, "Katie said what millions are thinking. You might not agree with her delivery, but she's not wrong about how people feel." And that single line set off an avalanche of reactions. Supporters of both Robinson and Hopkins flooded the comments, saying finally someone had the courage to speak about what many believe but few dare to say out loud. But critics weren't silent either. They accused both of stirring division and playing to frustration instead of offering solutions. Still, even among critics, one thing was clear: this moment had cut through the noise. Because love them or hate them, these are figures people listen to. Now, here's where things get interesting. Tommy Robinson and Katie Hopkins have always seen eye to eye on every issue, but when they align, it usually means something struck a deeper chord. This time, it's not just about politics. It's about the growing sense of frustration across Britain, a feeling that ordinary voices are being ignored while the same polished speeches echo through Westminster week after week. That's the backdrop to all of this. A Britain where debates over leadership, security, and cultural identity are no longer confined to Parliament. They're playing out online, in real time, in the raw language of public anger and disappointment. And that's exactly where both Hopkins and Robinson thrive. When Hopkins questioned Keir Starmer's leadership, she wasn't attacking for the sake of controversy. She framed her words as holding power accountable. She said she wanted to see a government that acts for the people, not above them. Robinson's endorsement of that sentiment, not the person, but the point, gave it new traction. He said, in one of his live streams later that evening, "You don't have to agree with everything Katie says. But you can't ignore the truth that Britain feels broken right now. And when someone calls that out, it shouldn't make them the villain." Those words hit a nerve. Within minutes, hashtags like #HopkinsSpeaksTruth and #RobinsonReacts were trending across British social media. Even mainstream journalists began picking up the story, with one BBC analyst noting that the reaction reflects a wider disillusionment with both major parties. Meanwhile, Keir Starmer's office didn't issue a direct response, but Labour MPs were quick to defend him. One Labour source told The Independent, "This is nothing new. It's the same individuals amplifying anger to stay relevant. The Prime Minister is focused on governing." But others within the party quietly admitted that the online backlash revealed something deeper. One Labour insider reportedly said, "There's a fatigue out there. People feel disconnected. That's something we can't ignore anymore." So while politicians debated tone and language, the public was having its own conversation, not about who's right or wrong, but about why so many feel unheard in the first place. And that's what makes this moment so significant. Because whether you agree with Tommy Robinson or Katie Hopkins, or with Keir Starmer himself, the underlying message is striking a national chord. A country where trust in leadership has slipped. Where people want answers, not slogans. And when establishment politicians dismiss those frustrations, they only feed the very voices they're trying to silence. Now, let's step back and look at the bigger picture. Britain's political atmosphere is more divided than ever. Far-left and far-right voices are louder. Moderate voices are shrinking. And public patience, well, it's wearing thin. Moments like this, when two outspoken figures echo the frustrations of ordinary citizens, expose a truth the government doesn't want to face. That political unity isn't built in speeches, it's built in trust. And right now, that trust is hanging by a thread. By the next morning, several newspapers had picked up the story. Headlines read, Hopkins and Robinson ignite online firestorm over Starmer comments. Public reaction divides along familiar lines. Even TV pundits joined in. On GB News, one host said, "Say what you want about them, they're not afraid to say what many politicians only whisper behind closed doors." And that might be exactly why this moment matters. Because in a political era dominated by PR-crafted soundbites, raw, unfiltered honesty, even when controversial, stands out. It sparks debate. It gets people talking. It forces questions that polite politics avoids. So, what happens next? Will this exchange fade like so many social media storms before it, or will it grow into something bigger? Will Keir Starmer respond, clarify, or ignore it altogether? And more importantly, what does it say about where Britain's public mood really is right now? One thing's certain. Every time voices like Hopkins and Robinson speak up, whether you agree or not, they remind the establishment that public frustration doesn't disappear when ignored. It grows. And the question remains, is this just another online feud, or the sound of a political awakening the government can no longer afford to dismiss?